If you can't touch your toes, can't do splits, can't move how you really want, I've got good news. The flexibility concepts I'm gonna share with you today are gonna be the best work that you've ever done on your hamstrings, and it'll take you to levels that you didn't even know were possible, including total body mastery. There's a few mistakes that you might be making that's setting you up for imbalances and overcompensations that lead to chronic and catastrophic injury. But I have several fixes that'll dramatically improve your flexibility, which leads to insanely improved strength too. Quick assessment. Can you put your palms on the ground? Can you do splits with the front leg straight? Can you kick at least head high? If no to any of these, you're on a path to decreased strength and skill as well as back pain and injuries. A couple reasons why most cannot do these basics is that most people are 1, stretching their hamstrings wrong, 2, not stretching their hamstrings enough, and 3, not doing the right stretches at the right times. And then they complain of age when that's a myth, or back pain and hamstring strains when those are completely avoidable while maintaining high level strength and skill for life. But I'll help you correct this today so that you can gain flexibility, strength, skill, and sustainability, and even progress to skills like aerials, flares, and 540 kicks, just to name a few.
And don't think that me or my students just have flexibility magically. I couldn't even do splits or touch my toes. Someone told me, hey, you really stretch your hamstrings a lot. And I'm like, yeah, because I know what it feels like otherwise. At one point, my back was really messed up because of all that tightness. But now I'm doing all these moves you see like handstands and flips. So me and my students are living proof.
Lee Weiland, Pacific Rim Athletics, creator of Powerbatics, and welcome to training. Now, you're probably doing a bunch of things that you might think are making you more flexible, but are really making you tighter and tighter. Or maybe you're just starting out to build flexibility. Listen, toe touches, hurdlers, sit, and other mainstream stretches are just not as effective as you think. And then people go jog and deadlift and sit in chairs all day, making the situation worse. Pun. But it's insanely important to build flexibility because every degree you're tight in, there is zero strength. And that range is what we call the injury zone, which is where weak links are also found. One of these injury zones is compression in the vertebrae, creating lack of mobility and pain. For example, when your hamstrings are tight, it pulls your pelvis into an anterior tilt, compressing your lower back. And it's not just hamstrings. There's half a dozen muscles on the back of the leg and a whole matrix of muscles spanning your lower back that you need to remold like clay. So now that we have that out of the way, let's build some hamstring flexibility. If a coach has students sit down and try to touch their toes or sit in a hurdler stretch or put their foot up on a wall, they're not, well, hey, what can I say? Let's logically think about what's going on here. The goal is to stretch the hamstrings, right? But when you do the old sit and reach or do a hurdler stretch or most mainstream poses, in these positions, you have to contract your abs to pull yourself downwards towards your leg, which negates the stretch. Thus, you're literally pitting your strength against your flexibility in a war that nobody wins. The only people that will be able to touch their toes in that kind of position is the athlete who is already flexible, understand? Here's what you should be doing instead of just fighting against yourself. This is level 1 of flexibility training. It's holding a static, stationary position and allowing the downward force of nature to pull you deeper into the stretch. Here's a test I like to do with my students at Pacific Rim Athletics. Do a hang and see how far down your fingers can go. Then stand up straight. So how far down were you able to get? Now retest and do it again for 2 minutes. Relax everything except your quads. Flex your quads so your knees almost go backwards. Even relax your neck. Let everything hang. You probably went a bit further down, right? Like gum. People are blown away whenever they see how much flexibility they can gain in just a couple minutes. The downward force of the weight of your upper body pulling on the connective tissue of the hamstrings is what actually creates the stretch. It's the external forces acting on the body. It's also pulling on the lower back, which is all connected together. Thus, a static passive stretch will pull you into a more flexible position without you doing anything at all. Other positions include side splits, which starts on the knee, front leg straight, and no, not toes pointed, but the foot pulled back, so it actually fully loads the hamstring for the stretch. And don't just try to go into splits from here. Instead, straighten the back, twist the shoulders, and pull the belly button down to the knee. You probably feel it, right? This eventually turns into full splits. And there's also middle splits. And we'll even hold that hang with weight like this. And more advanced static passive stretches include weighted stretches, partner stretching, and work on the stall bars. But listen, after a few minutes, you're gonna go back to the way that you were. the gum will tighten back up, okay? This is where stretching durations and long-term training is critical, which most people don't know. So this is like 1 to 5 to even 10-minute holds in these static passive positions over long periods of consistent training, like 4, 6, 12 months of time. Second, there's static active. Now, static active stretching is where the muscles being stretched are flexed. This is like our infamous leg iron cross, where the leg muscles are contracted in full splits. But this is a little more advanced and reserved for people who are regularly training, all right? Third, there's dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is not only flexibility training, but it also includes the movements of sports and daily life. This is why people get injured, wrenched, or tweaked. Your flexibility is too quickly being pulled beyond its maximum. A slip and fall could cause this. So could running, jumping, and landing awkwardly. An example in training to build dynamic flexibility is swinging the leg in an up kick, or doing a needle kick, or a cartwheel, which we don't do for timed holds, obviously, but in sets of 10, like skills practice, or in Powerbatics katas that progress level by level. For example, you can build an aerial, or as it's called in capoeira, an au samau, by simply working on flexibility. See how an aerial is just a split in the air? I recently taught one of our coaches how to progress from a butterfly kick to an aerial, and he felt the stretch on that landing leg for sure. You see what I mean? Upper body also requires flexibility, like doing a basic V stand, or a pullover on the bar, or a pinnacle move like the flare. And one of my favorites, the 540 kick, which requires tremendous strength, flexibility, and power. So if you apply these principles, you'll build so much flexibility and unlock even greater strength, plus gain sustainability for life, which is why I call it total body mastery. But these are just a few basics involved in building true hamstring flexibility that's worked for me and my students, because then there's other things like ballistic stretching, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, and even more topics on body weight, strength, skill, and sustainability. And if you want help building flexibility, skill, and power, then just use the link and let us know. And we've got more videos about to come up on the screen that'll help you make progress in the right direction. See you in the next video and in training soon.